Thank you for joining us today at Miniature Wargaming Labs, where today we'll be looking at the Devil Outcast gang from Funky Skull Games, also known as Flags of War. So we've got our models, comes in a bubble pack. So I bought these through the Kickstarter in 2020. So it was $22 for this pack. I also got the cards that come with the gang and the little transfer sheets to put on their backs. And something you should point out is you get more transfers than models, so if you find any third-party models you want to add to your gang. Let's go ahead and get these open. So we come on the 28mm rounded bases, and since they all came together packed in a box, even though it wasn't a fancy one, they all seem to survive fairly well in shipping. So let's check quality of the mold lines there. So this is my Warlord. And I can tell the mold line looks like it ran there, but it's fairly noticeable. You can see a little piece there. And very clean new molds. That's more of like the seams for his jeans. So all these models came out very well sculpted. And the reason I got them is they remind me of the Black Widow's gang from Every Which Way But Loose and Every Which Way You Can. If only I had little motorcycles. Alright, get these open. So we have our 8 models. That's a standard size gang for games of Street Wars NYC. Alright, look at the cards. Got our Warlord, Lieutenants, 4 soldiers, and let's see, 1, 2, 3. He's the new blood. I only have 4 soldiers and a new blood. Got the 2 lieutenants and a warlord. Alright, let's get these together and on the mat. I've finished cleaning and putting my models on their base. So the biggest issue with many of these models here, and you wouldn't even notice unless you looked for it, is some of the undercuts underneath their arms, around their elbows, and you might have some flashing in some tight spots where the arm gets close to the body. But otherwise, it took me about under an hour to clean and get these guys on the base. And then some of them, I put some green stuff to try to fill in from where the slaughter ties into the base, just so when I start putting the basing material down, it'll look smooth. But I did not just get these guys for games of Street Wars NYC. I figured that they could fit in with other games, or I might want to mix models from other miniature lines in with Street Wars NYC. So a good example is Studio Miniatures. Let's take Vincent and Jules and fit them in. So I've thought about using these individuals instead of the cop models, using Jules and Vincent as mob enforcers. But let's say I want to clean up my neighborhoods, so I hire some mercenaries there. So I've got the A-Team, also from Studio Miniatures. So you can see the Studio Miniatures 28mm line fits in perfectly with the Funky Skull Games miniature run. But another range I would like to use is from North Star. Let's see, introduce a more Yakuza themed gang onto the streets, similarly armed, a lot of fists and pipes, some pistols there. And we can see the North Star models fit in very well with the Funky Skulls. And the third range I'd like to introduce is Spectre Miniature. The height is right. This guy does seem a little bit more frail, but then again, he'd just be a background businessman walking by maybe an injective piece in the game. Now I'd also like to match it up against my existing terrain line. So for New York 28mm, I like to use Marvel Crisis Protocol's plastic terrain. This is sized for 40mm, except for the height. The height is 3 inches, which makes it usable in the 28mm games, especially games of Street Wars NYC, where climbing 3 inches is to get on terrain is part of the rule set there. So you can see these guys fit in very well. And something I have in the background here, a file I got off Thingiverse from 3DP Design Lab. And these are a remix of Terrain for Prince brownstones. As you can see, they fit in very well, and this will serve as the backdrop for many of my games there. So I'm very happy with these models. They fit in well with my existing mats, my existing terrain, so there's no added cost. They fit in with my existing miniature ranges, so I can expand on some of my other games. So a very good buy at what came out to $2.75 a model, and very well sculpted. So thank you for joining us at Miniature Wargaming Labs, and we'll see you next time.